Okay, I'd like to call to order the Plan Commission / Town Council Joint Study Session agenda for October 21st. Roll call, please.
Mr. Burleson?
Here.
Ms. Cardona?
Here.
Mr. Gill?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Ms. Little?
Here.
Ms. Wolin?
Here.
And John Kennedy is absent. Craig Phillips, Town Manager, is present. Ken Kraus?
Here.
Adam Decker?
Here.
Paul Panzik?
Here.
And Brian Blazak?
Here.
Okay, you have 6 members present, which is sufficient for a quorum to hold a meeting.
First item A, Mill Creek, Unit 6, petitioner will be seeking secondary plat approval for this final phase of Mill Creek at the November 4th, 2020 meeting.
Good evening. Cameron Wignall with Olthoff Homes. Mill Creek Phase 6 consists of 23 single-family lots and 23 duplex lots. Phase 6 is the last phase of construction. Construction is pretty much complete on Phase 6, including the secondary entrance off of Parish Avenue. We will be seeking secondary plat approval for this phase at the November 4th meeting.
Okay. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Yep.
I just wanted to thank your company for getting that connection in.
Sure.
It was really important to the residents there. They felt it was a safety concern, especially trying to get out on 231.
Right.
It's difficult. So now they have I think a safer way to get out, and we appreciate you stepping up the schedule and getting that
Yeah.
road in.
I'm
Thank
in and
you.
out of that community every day, so
Yeah. It's
I
very,
felt their pain.
Yeah, it's very much
I did
appreciated.
it too.
thank you.
Ken, is this ready to go?
I've got inquiries in with Public Works. I do not have answers back at this time, but I'm sure I will follow up on this as soon as I can.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. See you November 4th.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next item on the list, B, Summerlin Estates, Unit 2. Petitioner will be seeking secondary plat approval for this phase of Summerlin Estates at the November 4th meeting.
Summerlin Estates Phase 2 consists of 21 single-family R1 lots. And again, we will be seeking secondary plat approval at the November 4th meeting.
Ken, how you looking? Everything in order?
Yeah, it's the same as the Mill Creek, Bob. I've got inquiries out. I have not got anything back at this time, but I will follow up before the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, see you November 4th.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the list, Continental Phase 2, petitioner needs to redraw some lot lines in Phase 2 through another public hearing to change the primary plat.
Good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development, representing the Continental. You may recall, we just had the Continental Unit 2 was put in this summer. And so we've run into a kind of an odd situation out there. The lots in Continental are all at least 100 by 200 R1 large lots. And we've actually seen some demand for larger lots. We've had a few inquiries on lots where they are hoping to build a large home with a large backyard and a large pool. And surprisingly, sometimes that doesn't fit on a 100 by 200 foot lot. So we're coming in requesting a replat or a corrected plat. They're calling it a re-subdivision for 3 lots in Phase 2. And those lots are, you see there are originally 32, 33, and 34. We're not going to renumber them. We're basically extending the rear lot line back further. These lots are adjacent to wetlands, but there was a kind of a sizable area between the back of the lot and the wetlands. So we're not projecting into any of the wetlands, but we are extending the rear lot lines about 80 feet further back. We had just originally set all the lots at 100 by 200, so the rear lot lines kind of jogged around to follow the curve in the street. So that's basically it. You can kind of see the old lot line there, the way it angled and then went across, and the new lot line is going to be about 80 feet further back. Any questions on that?
So the 2 parallel lines, was that an easement line, or?
Yes, it was actually platted as a conservation easement, and as it turned out, there were no trees in that area to conserve. So we're going to do away with, in addition to moving the lot line back, we're doing away with the conservation easement on those 3 lots also, so that they will
Okay.
be.
That's all it
usable.
is, so there's no utilities or?
Yep,
Okay.
nothing back there.
Jack, are those lots backed up against where that pond is?
This would be kind of to the northeast. There's a little thread of wetlands and kind of a trickle of a creek
You call
back there.
wetlands, but there was actually water.
It's a small pond. It's not the big one that you see up
I
front.
just want to
It's-
make sure I remember
Yep.
seeing the right thing.
Yep. So we've actually advertised for this. It'll be a public hearing at November 4th.
Okay.
One of the requests that we would have, if the Plan Commission sees fit, when we come in on November 4th, obviously, we've advertised for primary plat. Because there are no improvements and it's realistically just moving lot lines, we would ask the Plan Commission to consider possibly granting primary and final plat on that at the November 4th meeting. So I just wanted to prepare you for that ask.
Okay. Ken, any questions, any concerns? Looks,
Not at this time, Bob. This is the first I've actually seen the plat be extended that far beyond where the rear lot line used to be. So I will look into this closely.
okay. Seems pretty straightforward, but,
Yeah, it does.
okay. Any questions from the board? Nothing? Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Jack. Next item on the list, item D, the preserve at Rosewood Estates, Unit 1. Petitioner will be seeking a primary plat approval of this 2-lot subdivision to be located on the north side of Alvina Rose Court at the November 4th meeting.
Again, good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development, representing the preserve on this one. You will recall this was part of the 40-acre Casboni property that we purchased and previously came in, received the rezoning to R1. We are coming in now with these 2 lots called the Preserve at Rosewood Estates. They are adjacent on the north to Rosewood, and one of the lots is 1.5 acres, the other one's 1.9 acres. Again, all of the improvements are there, the road is there, the sewers are there, so we're merely platting. Again, we've advertised for primary plat, we've put out the notices, the publications in the paper, the sign on the property, and we'll be coming in for primary plat at the November 4th meeting. And again, just like the last one, we would ask for consideration to do a primary plat and final plat on the same night. It's merely straightforward, again, no improvements, but
Okay.
if there's any questions on this, I'll answer them.
Any questions from the board?
Bob, this is Yolanda. I'm having a really hard time looking at the screen, but I'll look at it on my computer, the agenda items that were sent before. Is it lot 1 and then outlet A that you're looking for, Jack? I'm a little bit confused.
No, it's lot 1 and lot 2. It's a little hard on that map, and maybe, I don't know, Craig,
Oh, I
if you
see.
can pick
I
up
see
the
it.
other
I'm sorry.
attachment.
Cursor around, maybe you can see
She says she sees it.
The,
lot 1.
yeah, the second attachment's a little cleaner because it got the other one doesn't have all the topo lines on it. So they don't actually even touch lot 1 and lot 2. They're separated by a little bit.
Here along Bull Run.
But they both front on Elvina Rose Court. They're both about 400 feet of frontage on the road.
Yeah, there's no really way to highlight anything per se.
Yeah, the first lot, a little over 1.5 acres, and lot 2 is 1.88 acres.
There was a second attachment on that email, Craig, that had just the plat. Oh, that's all right.
I can search for it, but
Lot 2 is basically like a half circle. It's completely surrounded by Bull Run Creek on the right-hand side there.
It's like having a moat around your property.
Yeah.
Basically.
Put the drawbridge down and
It's a nice little hill piece of property there that has always been there and is really a perfect home site.
that's a cool lot, yeah.
Jack, is it this one?
Tower house.
Build a castle, huh?
Yeah.
I need less house, not more.
There it is. Okay, that might be a little cleaner to look at.
Yes.
So just lot 1 and lot 2.
Can you see that, Yolanda?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was able to find it.
Any questions? Okay. See you November 4th.
Thank you.
Next item on the list is E, Greystone Unit 3, continued discussion regarding the petitioner's request to rezone 40 acres of land from open space to R3 PUD.
Good evening, Jack Slager again with Schilling Development, representing CWS Holdings, the developer of the Greystone Development. We've been before you at least 3 times with this project, and the one that Craig has up there is the one that we've been looking at over the last couple of meetings. This obviously is what we've asked for before, which is our R3 PUD zoning, which would be a continuation of the cottage homes and duplexes that are currently built on the west side of Calumet in the Greystone development. This would be a maintenance-free product. Both products would be maintenance-free, part of a association. The feedback that we've gotten from the Plan Commission is that it's too dense and there's too many units, and basically the feel that we've gotten is that you don't want to see duplexes or cottage homes there. So I did bring in another plan tonight, and I just wanted to put that up one more time. And that's not it. That's a grid. There should be one more that's labeled single family. So that was one take on the single family. That was a basic grid pattern to see what it would look like with standard 80-foot lots. And then we did kind of a merge of the two, one with the more curved streets and the 80-foot lots. So we would actually request, if if the Plan Commission does not want to consider the continuation of the duplexes and cottage homes that we're currently building there, would you consider a continuation basically of what we've done on the other side of Calumet, which is a single-family 80 by 140 lot? And hopefully Craig can find it. If not, I do have some paper copies. Today. Yeah, this afternoon. Yeah, that's where, the same time that we got those
Take
other
your
ones.
time. I mean, if we got to retrieve it, I mean, I think it's important to see.
Yeah,
I can transfer it if you don't
yeah,
mind.
sure.
Yep.
No, that's fine.
And I can hand out paper copies too.
We can talk among ourselves.
Yeah, we can talk amongst ourselves. Thank you.
Sorry, audience.
Looks a heck of a lot better than what we've been looking at.
Thank you.
So this is like a hybrid of this similar street layout of the cottage home duplex, but with an 80 by 140 average lot. And it would be a single-family product. The net on this is 101 single-family lots. Part of the reason why the density might seem a little higher on this site in any of these plans, we've actually constructed the retention pond across the street in our other phase of Greystone and Calumet. So we've oversized the existing detention pond, and we're going to be expanding it further. So actually, some of the detention for this site is being stored off-site. So there's not as much land taken out of this plan for detention pond. Normally, you'd probably see a 5 to 8 acre detention pond on the site, which would further reduce the density, but we're actually storing on the other side of the road. So there's a small detention pond here, but so we're ending up, on a single-family layout, we're ending up with about 2.5 units per acre, 101 units. And we're still want to leave some green space along the pipelines on the north side. We want to continue the bike path that we started on the other side of Greystone. And we also want to provide the road stub to the west for future expansion and/or connection over to State Line Road eventually.
Well, Jack, you're probably aware that on the Preserve West, no, not the Preserve West.
Yeah.
Was it Preserve
Yep.
West? Yeah.
Yep.
That not in favor of the 80-foot wide lots.
Yep.
100, I don't have to have R1, but I like the 100-foot wide lots.
Yeah, and I realize that, and on this particular site, financially, it doesn't math out. The site doesn't work at 100-foot lots. We tried it because that would be the easiest for us to come in here, would be 100-foot lots, and we feel like you would approve it. It does not work with 100-foot lots on this site. There's no trees, there's no roll to it. It's a flat, open field. So if that were the requirement for us, then this project would just not move forward.
Yeah.
We can't do it.
And what size of a house are you talking about putting on here?
We would still follow the R2 so I guess our request would be modified from requesting an R3 PUD to an R2 PUD to go to a single-family 80 by 140 lot. We would follow the your R2 zoning, which is like 1900 on a ranch and 2200 on a story and a half, something whatever the standard minimum is for an R2 zoning. Yes, there it is. Thank you.
Now, is that the same size home as along White Oak in that subdivision, the west side of White Oak?
The west side of White Oak would be Preserve.
The Preserve, yes.
The standards are a little bit higher in Preserve. Yeah.
Okay.
In most cases, they're building higher than our minimums. I mean, the minimums in Preserve are not very high. They're 24 or 2,600. And most of the homes being built are 32, 3,400, so.
And these would be 1,900 to 2,200?
Correct.
1,900 ranch?
Well, again, that would be the
Yeah.
minimum set, but that's not to stop anybody from building a larger home.
Yeah.
Just,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Slager, for the sake of contrast, I just want to recall the number of doorbells in this plan versus this plan.
Okay, yeah, so going back to the cottage home and duplex, our total on that project was 144 units, and we're now down to 101.
Okay. And all single family.
Correct.
Thank you.
And, but yeah, thank you. I totally see it.
So I guess board, Jack wants some feedback. He heard from me. This is what, the third time, Jack, you've been here?
At
So
least.
We
Yep.
need to, we need to kill it or accept it or massage it or,
Yeah, I'm open to suggestions. I just, obviously, we like the maintenance-free product. It's selling well. But if that's not the board's preference, then we're going to move on to single-family. But however, and we're still at sketch plan stage, so we would have to go to engineering and everything else. So this is, when it's all flushed out, there may even be a few less lots than this, but there would be no more. So 101 is now the density number that we're looking for with an 80-foot lot.
yeah.
Jack, I'm sorry this is Yolanda, to have you repeat this again, but
Sure.
my connection's not the best today. Is there any way you can tell me how many doorbells we're looking at? The same question Paul asked. That's what I'm interested
Sure.
to know.
Yeah, so the last plan we had with a combination of cottage homes and duplexes showed 144 total units for the site.
Okay, and what about this one with
This
the
one,
R1s?
this one that you're looking at now is 101.
Okay. I feel like it's a little dense still. Obviously, it's better than what you had presented before. I think I shared that with you last time too. I'm not a fan of the R3s, but this is more palatable. It's just a little dense, but I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of, whether or not the plan is feasible financially. This is more palatable. It's just dense. It's very dense for sure.
What size lots, Jack? This plan here?
Yeah.
What's the width of the lots on the
So the
interior?
cottage lots are 60, and the duplex lots are 90.
Cottage. Okay, I think you, yeah. I
Yeah,
remember you saying that.
so essentially, if you're looking at a duplex lot of 90, a half duplex lot is 45.
Okay.
So you're 45s and 60s.
What's the side yard on an 80-foot lot?
8 feet.
Which is still the standard R2 side,
Correct.
side
Yep.
lot. Yeah, just
Yep.
want to make sure everyone understands that. That's not an exception, it's a standard.
Well, the straight R2, according to your zoning ordinance, does require a 100-foot lot.
100
It-
width,
It
but-
allows down to an 80, yes.
Well,
With special exception, I believe is how it's worded.
well, yeah, just for the Plan Commission's edification again, a standard R2 lot would be 100-foot wide at the build line and 15,000 square feet. So you're looking at about 100 by 150. Now, the side yard would be 8 foot,
Correct.
and they're looking for, similar to R2, I'll call it. It's a PUD because they're looking for a custom size of 80-foot width instead of 100, but the same side yard. They're not trying to scale the side yard smaller and get the homes closer together. So the homes wouldn't be any closer to the property line with this.
That's correct.
Jack, in the preserve, what's the side yards and the lots? I know you're running bigger lots there, but just as a comparison.
Well, there's, so we have a mix of 80, 90, and 100 in the preserve, and in each case, we've set, as part of our PUD, we've set the side yard at 10%. So on an 80-foot lot, it's 8, on a 90-foot lot, it's 9, on a 100-foot lot, it's 10.
Can you, just off the top of your head, going down Sheffield into Dyer, okay? All those big homes built on the left-hand side of the road. Those all have very small side yards. Are they
Yeah.
6 or 8 feet?
That I don't know. That's
Okay.
Dyer. I did build a house in there many years ago, but I don't remember their requirements.
Those homes are large, and you're talking about building 1,900 to 2,200,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Minimum.
yeah, minimum, right.
And the preserve is 2,000 to 24, is it not?
Yeah, and up.
So
Yeah.
basically, you're giving up 100 foot on a ranch and 100 foot on a 2-story, whereas you're asking for this with giving up 100 of each.
Yeah.
So where's the price line, just average fall?
You're still gonna see a price point in here, you're probably gonna be 350 to 450.
Just under, because you're shooting. for
Preserve is-
500 plus, right?
Preserve is now, going like 550 and up.
Jack, what would the building materials be like? I know, I've seen the cottage homes in Greystone. Would it be similar, or could you expand on that?
Yeah, and we're flexible on that, but we still keep a high standard for our architectural review, just like all of our subdivisions. We would set an architectural review committee. We review every plan that comes in. I don't know yet who the builders would be for this product. It may be some of the builders we have already. It may be some different builders, but we'll still continue with our high architectural standards. We'll still continue with our high landscape standards, requiring, windows on all 4 sides, things like that. If that's something that the board wanted to stipulate, to say they wanted a higher architectural standard, we're open to that. If that's something that we would definitely consider for the site.
So like, for instance, materials, siding, there wouldn't be any vinyl siding, things like that.
We could do no vinyl
there's-
siding.
There-
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I don't want to step out of my place too much here. I'm not a member of this plan commission, but I'm just trying to sort through some of these things with the plan commission and give you some ideas. So, as a councilman, one of my concerns is property value. It's really one of the 5 bullet points for rezoning is conserving property value. So if you're worried about a lot size that might be a detriment to property value, or a duplex. Well, if you're in a single-family home, hopefully that's a better thing, but you could also look at materials and the standards and the quality of the housing. And being that it's rezoning, and when it's a PUD, it's a custom set of rules. So you have some ability, if you want to stipulate certain things, or if that helps you to feel like if this is good for property values or not, you have some other tools. So.
Yeah. I
So
appreciate
that would be presented, or when would we make that decision on materials? Now or?
Discuss, sure. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do at
Yeah,
all.
no, I'm just,
There's densities. on it.
Absolutely.
we're kind
Yeah.
of butting heads here.
No,
That's what it's study
I
sessions for.
appreciate the openness, and we absolutely are always looking to take the architecture to the next level, and that's something we'd be glad to do. Yeah, and if that, no vinyl siding is a nice step in that direction, for sure.
All right, I heard from a couple of you, John or Donna, or what's your thoughts?
I definitely like this R2 design better than the cottage and duplexes. I mean, ideally, I think R1 would be nicer, but if we could do R2 with a higher architectural standard, that's a good compromise, in my opinion.
Anybody else?
I'm good with the higher architecture standards that
Okay.
compromise with the smaller lots.
Mike, Nancy, I don't know if I heard from you tonight on this topic. What's your thoughts? Please?
I'm still dealing with the 80-foot lot sizes and the density, but I guess I will agree, if we could get to some negotiations or agreement on quality of the homes and the type of architecture, that would make a difference.
Thank you.
Can't go to 90? A mix, perhaps a mix.
I'm gonna keep pushing.
I will definitely commit to no vinyl siding. We can do that, and I will, when I come back at the next meeting, I can put together kind of an outline of our architectural standards. We'll definitely step it up for sure.
So let me add, as a councilman, and you're going to hear about this soon when we do the zoning ordinance, and I'm going to be exploring ways to possibly achieve trade-offs, because we want to maintain the property values, and I'm glad Adam's here to hear this. So if a developer has an unusual situation, like you have homes, you have these little homes next to it, it's kind of hard to stack castles next to
Right.
little homes. You got to sort of transition. So if you're going to go with slightly smaller lots, how can we maintain our property values? So to put some tools in place that we can, the developer can say, yeah, we'll build these homes. They're going to cost 20 or 30 grand more a piece, okay, because we're going to build them this way. So you're not going to lose that property value. So again, I'm not a plan commissioner, but I'm really curious as a councilman and driving our zoning revision soon, how this might turn out. I'd be curious to see what type of building standards, and really, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, as a developer, you're going to pass that on to the home buyer in a way. So everybody kind of wins. The home buyer gets a better home. St. John gets a better home. The developer still gets their margin. So
And the builders will get that.
it's interesting. It's an interesting way to explore. We've explored this a little bit. I know in Gates they talked about, okay, well, we're going to use hardy board, but that was about as far as it got. But I wanted to push that envelope a little bit further, so I'm curious.
Yeah, and we'll put together a whole guideline for our next meeting to show you what we can do in terms of architectural control here. So I'm open to that for sure.
So side yard easements, you said, what would they be, 8 feet?
8 foot.
10%.
Yep.
As a side note to my last comment, if I may, and I don't know that this has been pointed out, I think it's been said a few meetings ago. So conversely to the building standard arrangement, and like Donna, you mentioned R1. So if a developer, I'm just trying to paint a contrast here. If they were to come in R1 and give you the 100-foot wide lot, you'd say, well, okay, pretty much we got to approve it. But then they could build whatever they want.
Right.
Yep.
They could throw vinyl siding on it and slap it up there, and so you get a little something.
Right.
You might have a little more lasso on the process to.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a give and take.
That's been my argument before. The R1 lot size doesn't necessarily guarantee a higher quality or a better home.
Right.
Right.
Just a bigger lot. But, yeah, we'll definitely commit to do that.
Any other heartburn out there, or?
I always have heartburn. This is Yolanda.
Let's spill it out.
Right. I was just going to say, I mean, I agree with Donna. I think the compromise with the higher architectural items is a nice compromise. It really is. And Jack, we do appreciate you, coming up with different plans to come up with a better product. So we definitely appreciate you coming back with something different than last time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
And we'll continue to come in until everybody's happy. So we'll be back at the next meeting. The one question I would have, and maybe this is directed at Adam, our application and everything went in as a request for an R3 PUD. We'll basically be amending our ask or our request at the next meeting to say we are now amending our request to ask for a favorable recommendation to the town council for an R2 PUD. I don't know if that's just easily done, or if it's really up to the plan commission to say the petitioner requested favorable recommendation for an R3 PUD, but we are recommending to the town council that this go as an R2 PUD. I don't know what the process is going to be there.
I could maybe help with this one. This is something we're going to be fixing in the zoning ordinance. Adam, you could correct me if I'm wrong. There's no such thing as an R3 PUD or an R2 PUD. It's just a PUD, and it's residential.
Okay.
But we've used that nomenclature just to sort of pigeonhole it into what category it fits closest to. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that was one of the issues, and Rick and I had spoken about it. It's just PUD. A PUD is a PUD. It's custom. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, the ordinance, this is chapter 9 of the zoning ordinance, provides that the owner and developer shall submit a PUD development plan to the Plan Commission for review, together with the application for a change of zone district classification, if applicable. Which it is. Any PUD is a change in the zone classification. The PUD development plan shall be prepared and shall include the following information, and there's a list of items that are to be required in the development plan. I don't know if you plan to submit a revised development plan consistent with the comments that have been received tonight.
Yes.
A couple of the items in the zoning ordinance call for item H, exterior elevations and renderings depicting the architectural style with a list of exterior materials in order to better define the intent of the proposed PUD. Also, item C, floor plans, sections, and heights for buildings to be constructed in the current phase. So, yeah, I don't know if it requires that you reapply
Yeah.
necessarily. I don't think the town's going to require that you file or submit a new application based on the comments that have been received at tonight's meeting.
Okay.
But there are those certain items that have to be included in the plan for the Plan Commission to consider.
Okay. Now that we have some direction, I can complete those items, and I will have those.
Yeah, if I remember right, PUD, there's a checklist.
Yeah.
Dozen
Substantial.
items that you go through, that the Plan Commission goes through. And I think the developers gotta hit all those.
Yeah, we won't get as detailed as actually having a floor plan for every lot, but we will have an outline of what
Right.
our square footage requirement is, what our material requirements are. So we will have that.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I can clarify, are you seeking approval at the next meeting in November?
I would request at the next meeting in November, I would like to come in and, again, request a favorable recommendation to the town council for this plan,
Okay.
or something similar to this.
So, I would remind the Plan Commission that the zoning ordinance provides, same chapter 9, prior to granting approval for any change in a zone district and PUD development plan, the Plan Commission may recommend and the town council may stipulate such conditions and restrictions upon the establishment, location, design, layout, construction, architectural design of buildings, maintenance, beautification, aesthetics, operation, and other elements of the PUD as deemed necessary for the protection of the public interest. So I would simply remind the Plan Commission that it need not act until it is fully satisfied that the items in the PUD development plan have been submitted by the developer, and you're prepared to consider all of those items.
For the November 4th meeting.
Well, right,
I
I
th-
mean, I
yes.
think that's the next time we meet, and
Yep, and I think, yeah, have all
I
those,
understand.
have all those laid out
Yep.
for us. Okay.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Before we let Jack go?
Is this development, are you planning on it to be maintenance-free or not?
Well, that's a good question. I think that was our original intention with the smaller units. With the single family, it's a little more difficult. You know, the yards are larger. So when you have maintenance free, you actually have the HOA taking care of all the exterior, the snow removal, the grass cutting. I don't think that works as well in a single family development. We've not done it that way before, so we'll have to take a hard look at that, but I don't think that's gonna be the case.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, see you, Jack. Next item on the list, F, discuss making 2 changes to the Plan Commission rules and regulations, just as the BZA is considering. Those would be going back to a 10-day public hearing notice, as well as requiring a notice to be published in 1 newspaper as opposed to the 2 newspapers that we require currently. Any
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is a legacy thing, and I'm sure Craig understands it, but I've been carrying this one for a while, so I'll go ahead and speak to it. Our rules for Plan Commission and BZA are above and beyond what's necessary by state law. So it's a predicament that it puts us in. So we're trying to be overly conservative, but what we've been caught in is folks coming and saying, hey, I was a day late, but really I'm still 4 days ahead of what the state requires. So they're always asking for exceptions, which we usually grant it because we're still overachieving.
Right.
But the public perception is that we're actually letting them off, which we're not. It's happened over and over. So we discussed last year just mirroring state statute. This is the rule, this is it. You have to make it because the state requires it, and if you don't, you don't. And it takes all the guesswork out. It takes all those requests for, hey, I didn't get to sign up till the next day, and it just makes it cut and dry.
Okay.
And
Well, yeah, and we can just refer people to state statute when it comes to those requirements.
exactly. So there is not like a,
Where that comes from.
Right.
it's like an extra set of rules that we have that makes it more complicated and convoluted. So mirroring state statute, which is 1 newspaper, 10 days, done.
Okay.
So if you all agree, it just makes it more streamlined.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, Mr. President, and that would be adopted by a resolution that the Plan Commission would consider at a meeting. I can have that ready for the November 4th meeting if the Plan Commission is so inclined, and we can put that on the agenda at that time.
Okay. Board members, good with it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next item on the list, item G, discussion with town council regarding the road impact fee. Members of the Road Impact Fee Advisory Committee are expected to be in attendance along with, I can't say your name. I'm sorry.
Peggy or Shami. I should come over here more often.
I remember you, Taggy. Last time you were here.
Yes,
3 years ago, I believe.
And
4 years ago.
yeah,
Yes.
thanks, Taggy.
Thank you. Good, how are you?
Good evening, everybody. and it is a pleasure to be here. As you're aware, we were here, I think exactly 4 years ago. It was in October, and for the same purpose, what I am going to present to you for those members that weren't here, just a synopsis of the process that we have gone through for this road impact fee. Before I forget, let me introduce myself for the record. And my name is Taghi Orshami. I'm a principal with the firm of Arsh Group, a planning consulting firm in Maryville. We have a team member, Danny Kopp from First Group Engineering. I don't know if he's online, but he's in Indianapolis, but he has been working on this project from the day one. He was also a part of our team last time. So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, and the members, I'm going to give you a little bit background information to start and then go over this process. I assume everybody has this handout, has received that?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. What we are here to present is a little bit more advanced than what we initially thought when we scheduled our presentation here, which was more than almost 2 months ago. And so you're going to get a little bit more benefit than what we originally thought. And thanks to Jack is here. I'm glad one member of the advisory committee is here, and thanks to the efforts of the advisory committee.
Got Joan sitting back there and Dan sitting behind her.
I was saying that these masks are making me almost blind. I can't recognize everybody, and so they are here. They have really worked hard with us and pushed us. So we are much more advanced, having weekly meetings and to get this process going. We anticipate to be here in 2 different occasions related to this. And for this one, although we are not separating, there are 2-step process. One would be to amend the comprehensive plan for inclusion of a zone improvement plan, which is officially this final document will be called, into the comprehensive plan, and then follow with a ordinance which establishes the fee, and that will be done in the second meeting. And so you will see me here again, and we will by then, hopefully we will have the final documents ready for your review, and the final fee will be established, and the revenues and everything else. We are working on that document right now. As I mentioned, the fee was established in October 8th, so we have had that final fee less than 2 weeks, and we are in the process of finishing up the report, the final document. We're still gathering information. There are additional work that has to be done. So that is the preliminary I wanted to share with you. Let's get back to the road impact fee, and why do you want to have and what that process is. Overall, for road, you have 2 types. Once this is approved, or if this is approved, you will have 2 different impact fees in the town. You already have a parks impact fee that you collect, and all of those fees goes to parks improvement project. So this will be in addition to the parks fee. In development of these fees, state statute is very clear that these fees have to be reasonable, have to be proportional, and have to be proportional to the level of service that you're currently providing. So the new developers or new development will not be charged for the service that you're not providing currently to current residents. So that those are requirements. And another requirement is that the fee collected are totally assigned to capacity development and road improvements as identified in the comprehensive plan and as well as identified in this document that you will see in a few weeks. In all of these efforts is everything is related to comprehensive plan, and therefore it is important for you to maintain a comprehensive plan that is updated regularly, and then you can invest these dollars on the projects that are identified in your comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan, typically, as you did just tonight, has a companion document that is thoroughfare plan, and typically a thoroughfare plan is more detailed in terms of the activities, priorities, the cost. All of those are included in the thoroughfare plan. So we started, I'm going to go as I have in this handout so everybody will can follow me. We started with this process in May. We had initially an advisory board. We had a couple of events happen, and that advisory board had to be additional members had to be brought in, so that sort of delayed our initial process. But we were absolutely delighted with the members. We do this, as you may know, we have done this several times. We typically do get this work done in 3 meetings. With this advisory board, we had 8. And some of them would, the last one was 4 hours, 4 hours and 15 minutes, I believe. And many of them went over. I do want to express my appreciation for all the advisory members that are here and the ones that are not here. But it was a pleasure working with them. We had 8 meetings, and all of those meetings were publicized, and you have a list of those meetings. In terms of the process, we have the impact fee methodology is basically identified as a process in which is followed a sort of national standard in terms of what needs to be done, including what is state statute requirements are. And that is determining the intensity of and potential uses in the future. And for that, we basically rely on the zoning ordinance, on zoning map, and the comprehensive plan. And that's what we have done. We based on that, we establish and forecast the trip generation for future uses. The time horizon typically is 10 years, and so we project what the future would look like. And we had a very lively conversation with the advisory committee in terms of, and I'm so glad that the advisory committee was a very, not only interested, but competent individuals that could participate and give us guidelines and input on what that forecast in terms of land use development should look like. And so we ran traffic forecasting based on that future development. There is a establishing level of service. This is one of those items that we have to, as a part of our work, analyze that, and that means to what extent you like to have crowding in the streets, and there is a level A all the way to level F, and these are national standards, and we have selected level D for this. It's not level A, but even level D is significant, requires significant improvement into the roads. And so we have to, based on that analysis, we have to identify the growth-related projects. In other words, that project, the establishment of that level of service would require certain improvements to the roads, and those would then turn into the projects, road projects. And then once we identify those road projects, we assign dollars for it, what the cost of those road projects are, and then they prepare a fee schedule to address those costs, separate those costs based on the existing deficiencies that you currently have, and versus the future growth-related deficiencies. Though that is important, because only the fee has to be spent on those growth-related deficiencies, and so we separate those dollars, and then come up with a fee per the cost of each trip, and that's the sort of the measure for this. What is the cost? What is the marginal cost of an additional trip in the town? And so that is the process we have gone through, and the chart that is there shows and details it, and I think in terms of the process and the items I just went over, once we do the analysis of the land use, identify the potential growth of the future, we sort of put them down in more specific items and project sites and where they're located. And then typically those are categorized in three different items. One is the developable land. Where does that future development will occur based on the comprehensive plan, based on the zoning, and based on the market demand. And one is we categorize as a planned development. These are projects that are underway or could be underway. And the third category of analysis is projects that are, these are existing lots that are vacant and will be developed next 10 years. And so those three categories are analyzed and the units are identified. And by this time now we call them service units. And this goes not only for residential but also all types of commercials. Then the service units consist of one single family homes or 1,000 square foot of commercial development. That is called one service unit, or in an alternate sort of naming for it is called EDU, or equivalent dwelling unit. And it's not just related to dwellings, it is also applies, that one unit also applies to commercial and industrial uses. So we have identified that for the next 10 years. What would that number look like? How many EDUs does the community create as a result of the growth or subject to growth? And what you have in number of service units by development type, you see that we have identified 3,948 development units, and a sort of simplified version of it is the 2993 for residential. And that basically says that there is, for the next 10 years, there is a potential, or it's been considered in the traffic analysis, 2,993 single-family homes. And then that's roughly about 300 units of housing every year, which is, again, similar to what you have had for the last 10 years. And so we have the total growth service units by this we have identified, and then we run traffic modeling on this basis. And each one of those, the 2,900 new housing, where are they located, and how do they generate traffic, and how that traffic is distributed.
Is that per year, the 29?
No, 10 years.
10 years, for 10 years, okay.
Right. And so we run the traffic modeling on that distribution scheme. And you will see under 4 the total trips generated by land use type, and then that gives us the next 10 years growth-related traffic generated, which is 55,669. That is the number of trips that will be generated, additional trips that will be generated for the next 10 years as a result of the growth. So you don't have it here because we don't have the graphs. We have all kinds of graphics that we can show. Unfortunately, those are being worked out right now. And, but these are all transferred into different roads, distributed different roads, and then shows which roads need to be expanded, which intersection needs to be improved, and those are, we have identified all of those. And then those have been, those improvements, required improvement to address the existing deficiencies as well as future growth-related deficiencies, and then the cost it out. And your number 5, that basically shows the growth-related cost separated in 2 different categories of intersection and roadway, and the specific growth-related improvements is about $20 million, and the existing deficiencies are $6.7 million. And this is, I'm glad the council members are here, and this is something that 6.7 million, that is something that is existing deficiencies, cannot be paid by the growth, by the impact fee. Therefore, you have to start planning to address those separately by the town funds or other sources of funds. And so that's where we are. So we have this. We have, if you divide this number by between the number 5 and number 4, you basically get the trip cost, which is $372. That is the cost of one single trip in the town over the next 10 years if we were to address those deficiencies resulted from the growth. Does everybody understand this?
Yep.
Are we clear? Great. I can move on. Feel free to stop me, ask question if.
No, I'm good. You good?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
Okay, great. So that,
Nancy or Mike or Yolanda, are you guys good? Are you following?
Good. Yep.
Okay.
Heidi, would you reiterate, please, just so there's an understanding, would you reiterate the existing deficiencies, do you remember, as I do, what 4 years ago the numbers were on a comparative basis?
I wish
4
you
years
told me
ago.
I would have brought in those numbers.
They were
Or-
significantly
no.
higher.
That's
Right.
okay. The 4 years ago, those numbers, this 6.7 and this 20.5 million, those numbers were 81 million for the deficiency that could not be fixed. And then there was 11 million current deficiencies, which now have dropped, based on our forecasts, have now dropped to 7 million. So they've probably either been improved or conditions have changed.
Conditions have changed, and you have also made some improvements. We had in one of our meetings, we discussed what happened, and the existing deficiencies were actually $11 million. And since then, you have put a roundabout. You have done a couple other improvements, and all of those have improved the condition to the extent that those improvements have been very responsive. And
That, it's surprising, though, it dropped it that much, because I remember that too, 80 million.
81 million. was the
81
number.
million.
And then the 11 million, almost 12 million, was the current, or the current spendable. That was the
Current projected,
current projection for 10-year improvement.
yeah.
right, and there has also been some changes. And one of the other things that we have the benefit at this round that we did not have last time was what is your growth potential on the commercial side? And what were the commercial plan development on that time that you were considering? And those have also significantly changed. As all of you have been involved with the Boyer property development, that at the time we assumed that is going to be 250,000, 256,000, I can't remember.
For
square
the
feet.
fee,
Yes.
just for the fee.
Well, and that 250,
Yeah, I thought the fee was like 250,000.
no, 250,000 square feet development, that
Oh.
development was.
Okay,
The fee is much higher.
much higher.
Yeah, and today, it is, for this analysis, we have lowered that to 100,000. That is what Mr. Boyer is currently considering. So that sort of development and that sort of change in the development picture also reduce those numbers. One sort of silver lining into these things is that with minimal amount of improvement, you have been able to reduce those deficiencies. So it's not that big of a major issue. And with proper planning and proper priorities, you can make significant changes in the traffic pattern and those things.
One other thing you ought to mention is the fact that the projections 4 years ago were 1 million square feet of commercial, which is totally unrealistic.
Right.
So we all came to an agreement. There was going to be less commercial, not 1 million, for 10 years. And there's going to be more residential. Back then, you were using
250, yes.
units a year. We're averaging over 300, almost 400 a year. So we increased the residential, which is a correct number. We're probably hitting in the last 3-4 years, we're hitting like 350. So it'd be senseless to carry a study forward using 2.25, when in reality it's closer. We agreed, the committee agreed, 300 was a better number and more realistic, which helped these statistics dramatically.
So that is what we have in terms of the the trip cost and the planned improvements required. The committee discussed what options they are in terms of actually calculating the. Huh? I'm on number 7, page 6. Yeah, and under the fee options. The committee looked at a variety of options, looked at what other communities are doing, and came up with those options are, one is basically set up what's called a flat rate, 100%, whatever it is calculated, and the other method is a sort of fraction or a graduated rate, a certain percentage, and to recommend that percentage. In the table that you see under 7, that basically shows a 100% rate for different types of developments. For a single family, which consists of 1 EDU, it is $38.79, and then for commercial activities they have like 175 different categories that we can go by and select that, so we cannot just calculate for different uses, but we have used the 820 is actually a shopping center, and that is what it would be for a 1,000 square feet of shopping center that you see there. And for a 815 is a standalone sort of department store, and that's what you have. And industrial uses, that is what you get in the sort of the last column for every 1,000 square feet. So the committee looked at these and had a significant conversation. That was the day that we were having a 4-hour meeting, and so what they decided, it was a range of let's start from 100% to, or from lower side 50% all the way to 100%, and they ended up with selecting a graduated rate of the first year being 70%, starting at 70%, and then second year being 80%, 90%, and then the fourth and the fifth year to be at 100%. What it does is the trip rate changes, then goes from $260 the first year and all the way to $372 the fourth year, which is the 100% rate. And what you have at a 70% rate, that example that is there for the recommendation is, again, ranging from $2,700 for a residential single family, and all the way down to $10,000 for a shopping center for 1,000 square feet. And by the way, the committee, by doing that, basically there was unanimous agreement and on approving that rate and recommending that rate. The last page, we are comparing what St. John has and what 4 other communities that currently have the road impact fee, and all of them are have a different range of methods. Fisher, for example, has a single rate, 100%, and Zionsville the same way. Westfield has a graduated rate, and I believe they are in in their fourth year, so that's 299, and it will go to 337 for next year or the following year. St. John will be at 100%, 372. At 70% to start will be 260. One of the things that we look at these numbers, despite the reduction, despite all of the efforts we have made, it also shows another picture about the gravity of the traffic issues in town. And so it is, no matter what we do, still there is a lot of issues. You have to also take into consideration that Fisher has 100,000 population, and St. John has now I think 18,000, 19,000 population, and so there is a lot of traffic or transportation improvement needs for the town to address, and that reflects in those trip costs and the improvement needs.
Fisher, Fisher, how long have they been having an impact fee?
I believe this is their third round, so they've had it for at least 10 years, if not 15.
They're the longest community of every one you
Yeah.
see listed here. They've been in it the longest.
Right.
And I believe, isn't Noblesville the Westfield, the newest one?
I believe so, yes. I think you're correct. But even Westfield has had, at least for 2 runs,
So 8 years,
9 years, 10 years, yeah.
10 years, okay.
Yeah.
Every 5 years?
Every 5 years. And what we, again, what we will be coming into you, there is a bunch of stuff I've put in there. Feel free to read them as you have. The overall thought is, don't look at this plan as a just charging some fee for the roads. Look at it as a guide for future decision making. And in our presentations to the committee, we showed a gas station and another development, a gas station generating an average trip rate of 112, for example, versus a medical facility that generates 15 trips. And so look at those in your planning efforts when you get these proposals, that perhaps add that as a consideration rather than, well, can we accommodate a curb cut here? Or can we just address that issue with acceleration lane and deceleration lane and call it a day? Now, it does have impact on overall communities' well-being. And in all of these, typically, you want to go back to the comprehensive plan. You want to update the comprehensive plan that brings some of these priorities in, and that you can perhaps in the next round, if this is approved, in the next round when you have more experience with this process and you know the general revenues that will be generated, you can perhaps do additional work with it to not only leverage those dollars, but also improve the traffic conditions in the town. The last item is what are our next step? One of the things that I have had a pleasure during these efforts for the last 6-7 months has been getting to know Brian more, and he has been pushing this process along. So I'm a little bit hesitant to see what happens, but this is hypothetical. And what we need to do is for Plan Commission to approve an amendment to the comprehensive plan. That's the first one. We are hoping to be here for November 4th meeting, but we still have to put that plan together, that document together, and I'm really hoping we will get it done by then. Or if not, then we're going to have to find a way to a few days later. However, Councilman Blazak is going to pull it out, and so it is. I'll leave it to him. Once that is done, we'll go to the council, and that amendment has to be approved by the council, recorded, and then we will come back here for the ordinance and certification, and that would be our second meeting. And we are hoping that, again, that will happen as long as we can meet all of the notification, the logistics of these notifications. We are hopefully we will have this. Under the worst case scenario, I don't think we're going to. We have made a commitment to get to the council at the latest, sometimes in early December. Be happy to answer any questions.
Real quick, how'd you get the EDU on page 4? How'd you come up with those numbers? Like for residential and like R3?
Yeah, we looked at, let's stay with the residential. There are certain developments that are either planned for R3 section. There are a couple of developments that are in the planning stage, and one is in Gates, and I can't remember what the other one was. And so we have identified all of those. We have identified basically every lot that is available in the town as of, I believe, May or June of this year, when we did the survey and did the analysis.
So the unit is a unit. Dwelling unit is a
doorbell.
Is a doorbell, okay. Just why I asked that, like for R3, 262 for 10 years, that seems really low. I mean, Jack just came in with 144 units.
Yeah, we have relied on your current zoning ordinance.
Okay.
And what has been proposed in the comprehensive plan.
Okay,
So if any lot that is there, any parcel of land that is zoned R1, we have assumed that is what's going to go to R1.
okay,
Basically looking at history.
yeah.
Since we haven't really been, yes, it has in the last several years, it's picked up in the R2, R3 category. Whereas before, St. John was primarily an R1 community.
Right.
Right.
But he used the history and facts that we presented from the town's actual data,
Okay,
which I've been running around with for years. Those are real numbers. He took those real numbers.
Okay.
And took the duplexes and took the townhomes and took the condo complex and put them into use on this study.
okay.
So he's done a great job massaging the numbers and making them work, him and Denny. And while I still have a moment, I want to thank everybody on the committee and Adam and Taggy and Denny, who's done a great job. I mean, they've really stepped into it, and I've put a lot of pressure on them. And it isn't over, but they're coming to the end, and they can see it, and they've done a great job, the committee especially.
Now, I also want to thank the committee. The numbers look really good.
Thank you.
Looking back 4 years ago, I couldn't say that. This time I can say that.
Right. Just adding another sort of addition to this is what you are seeing is a raw number per trip cost. And in calculating any new development, there are other factors that come in and that could benefit a developer and or could assign a certain credits to those developments. And some of those credits could go up to 40%. So that is when we come up, hopefully next time here, and we have the final revenues generated, we're going to take those items into consideration. Although it's not fully known until you get to that point. Somebody puts in an application, is this type of development, can we, what category does it fall in, or how many trips it can generate? So there are some other methodology that can be used to assist developers, particularly commercial developers, and that could benefit from those, and it's not as sort of hurtful or as it's shown in these documents. As they come in, those fees will be calculated, and it could be much less. Larger development, for example, a shopping center, if it is more than 50,000 square feet, it could get up to 60% fee reduction.
Okay.
There is also, and the state statute allows that, there is also opportunity for somebody to go and do a traffic study and generate their own. NERC does all kinds of traffic studies for different uses all the time. They can use those traffic studies and to say, okay, this is what you have come up with is not what we are going to do, and therefore we are entitled to a reduction. And that those things are normally done on a regular basis.
Okay. Any questions? Mike, Donna, Yolanda, Nancy, did you guys follow along pretty good? I guess I shouldn't have asked now after Taji went through all that, but
No, I'm good.
anybody want to say anything?
Joan would like to comment.
Joe?
Heidi, I would hope that you could give the planning commission, since several of them are new, what specific action are we looking for them to make at the meeting? So we talked about making a recommendation. Can they change the rates that we put forward? Do they have the option of doing that? What specifically are you going to be looking for them decisions to make at the next meeting?
This is my understanding, and I think Adam is here. You have, as I mentioned, you have two actions that you need. Good question, thank you. Two actions that you need to do, that's why we are here, and that is to approve the comprehensive plan amendment, and then to approve that certification. I might be wrong, I don't know if they can change the recommended rate. I believe that is the purview of the council, but Adam, you want to jump in?
Sure, Tagi. So you're correct. There are two things that the Plan Commission will effectively be doing. First is the review, consideration of the zone improvement plan. That's the first step. And the zone improvement plan is essentially an amendment to the comprehensive plan. So similar to what occurred earlier tonight, when the Plan Commission considered an amendment to the comprehensive plan, there will be a public hearing held, at which time the public may comment on that zone improvement plan. And at that time, the Plan Commission will vote to approve the zone improvement plan, and it will then be certified to the town council. The zone improvement plan may contain analysis that was derived from the advisory committee regarding the rates, but that really will be part of the impact fee ordinance, which is really the second step, because the statute requires that the zone improvement plan be prepared prior to adoption of the ordinance. When the ordinance comes up, the ordinance will again be presented to the Plan Commission, similar to a change in the zone maps. And so if you recall that that has occurred previously this year, when there's that type of review, the Plan Commission will give notice. There will be a public hearing for that meeting. So there's a public hearing to consider the impact fee ordinance itself. And at that time, the Plan Commission will vote to approve or recommend, or not approve, not recommend, or make no recommendation to the town council, who ultimately will have the final say in considering adoption of the impact fee ordinance itself.
Are we doing all that in one night, or?
I don't anticipate that that would all be done in one night. I anticipate that the first step, which is consideration of the zone improvement plan, will be done first. We've targeted.
November, the next.
Well, November 4th, but remember, that requires a publication, 10 days in advance. And so I'm not sure that the zone improvement plan will be ready, based on Tagi's comments tonight,
Right.
for the November 4th meeting.
Okay, just gotta
And if-
wait and see.
And if we can't get the notice in the paper, which is 2 weeks from tonight, we can't have it on November 4th, so we may be looking at a special meeting, perhaps sometime in November, to consider the zone improvement plan. But that would be the first step.
Okay.
Let me ask this question if I could. If we advertise for the November 4th meeting, in the event that we are ready, and we end up not being ready to present that night, we can just notify those present that we're going to continue that, correct? And we will have taken care of our notification requirement?
I believe that's correct.
Okay, so I think what I would like to do is err on the side of caution and go ahead and advertise. I'm gonna have to basically do that tomorrow. But I just wanted to verify that. So I think that, I want to err on the side of caution and take that stance. So if we end up, for example, having a special meeting instead of November 4th, we're still covered if we make that announcement at the November 4th meeting.
We could open the hearing and defer it, right, exactly. I was thinking the exact,
Yeah.
I have a note to do just what you're saying here.
Okay.
So, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Great idea.
I need to work with you to, I guess it'd be the same exact public hearing as tonight, correct?
Yes.
Same format,
It's essentially
same advertisement?
the same type of advertisement. It's the same issue in terms of considering an amendment to the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
So yes, the
And
same.
I've got a copy of the publication that was drawn up for tonight. So, I should be able to just send that to the clerk treasurer for, advertisement. Get that taken care of.
So if I may, and this is a study session, so it's a little more casual, if Tagi's able to meet, and I'm expecting it.
No pressure here.
I'm relying on.
With me.
Tagi and I have worked together.
I know he's been talking about it, and he's very much saying that you are expecting more than him even.
Yeah, Bob known you a long time, Tagi. I met you, I still had hair, and I think your hair was still dark. That's how long we've known each other. It's been a long time.
We are doing our best, believe me.
No, I understand.
I'm relying on other people to produce
Sure.
certain documents that we need. And,
If we're able to make that November 4th deadline, though, I just want to present a potential timeline, a best-case scenario. And I'm going to wait for, it looks like Craig and Adam are they're trying to sort out some statute. So.
We're just discussing the wording.
Not a problem. So I was contemplating, I just wanted to throw this out there because it is a study session, this is casual, I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. So if we're able to actually conduct that hearing on the 4th and accomplish that task, I would look for a cadence of every week, so the town council can have a special meeting. We sort of set aside the second Wednesday of the month for an optional meeting, sometimes it's a study session, to do extra business, but the town council could meet a week after the plan commission and ratify the comprehensive plan amendment. And then the following Wednesday, which is the third Wednesday, the plan commission meets for a study session, and you could have a special meeting preceding to approve the actual impact fee. And then the fourth Wednesday is the regular council meeting, and we can ratify the ordinance and have it on the books by the end of November. But that all hinges on that November 4th deadline. So I'm just saying we would go through the effort to schedule these meetings. It's not difficult. It's a 1 week cadence. I hope Craig agrees. I think that's doable. If, again, it all hinges on that first date. So the pressure's not on. So, but
Don't feel
We'll-
all pressured.
we'll do the best we can, but I'm just saying
Craig, did
that's
you
the
hear
best
that?
scenario.
I'm trying to keep this from going off, sorry.
So yeah, that would be
We will do our best. I think that is great.
Sorry, what?
A lot of stuff has to be done in terms of those notices,
right.
and that needs to be coordinated. The way I understood it is,
We'll coordinate on our
The
end.
man, the man sitting right there is the one that gets the final say-so on when things are scheduled, because he's gonna work with the law to say, this is legal, this is legal, this is legal.
right.
Right. We'll work this offline, but
Yes, we will.
we'll try to do it on a cadence if we can. So we'll see how it works. Yep.
That'll be great.
But we'll be prepared for the 4th at the very least and go from there.
Let's hope so.
Mhm.
Did you hear that, Craig? 'Cause I need some information from him. I need some information.
Right.
He's
Well,
gonna be working top, just like Ann, just like you, just like
Right.
Denny. All four of you now are known to work together.
He needs some information from Ken also.
Right.
I've told him that for those budget items, previous budget
Yeah,
items.
Yeah, which, now that,
5 years ago, we have to bring that information in, and so,
Years ago, you didn't have anything close to this amount of pressure, did you?
Well, we'll work with you.
By the time we were done, it took another year before we got to the plan commission.
I'm kidding you. I
Yeah,
do
it
that
was
with town
just-
council
yeah.
every month, so.
Right. Well, I will then work with Craig and Adam and try to revise the previous sort of submitted schedule that I thought that we can do. And,
we're talking about revising the schedule to move basically the December dates up, is that what you're saying?
so
We can.
So Craig, Mike, the cadence, just to follow the cadence that I'd outlined here, you're going to notice the 4th, and we're hoping, we may or may not be able to achieve that hearing, but if we can achieve the hearing on the 4th, we would schedule a special town council meeting the following Wednesday,
11th, right?
that in-between Wednesday, and ratify the comprehensive plan update at the council, okay?
All right, we were gonna have to make provisions.
Right, well, we could talk offline, but I'm just giving you everyone, and then a week later, the plan commission meets for a study session, we would schedule a preceding special meeting to ratify the actual impact fee, and then that's the third Wednesday. So then the fourth Wednesday, the council has this regular meeting, and they can ratify the ordinance. So it's a 1 week cadence. And it works wonderfully if we make it's all depends on if the information's ready on the 4th, and everything else could work at that cadence.
can we, just in the event that November 4th doesn't work, can we extend this by 1 week?
We could.
Everything sort of pushed
Yes.
back?
We
In
could-
other words, we proceed from there to
Right.
Right,
effectively move it
We
forward.
could try to work with it. We could see if the plan commission's available to have a special meeting, a week later. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but we have to be ready for it. As long as we open the hearing on the 4th, we can open the hearing on the 4th, even if the information isn't ready, and then defer the hearing and continue it.
And we
So
don't have to advertise it?
Nope, we only have to advertise once, and then we're able to continue the hearing to the following meetings. Mhm.
Once at each step.
Yeah, Mr. Panzik's comments are correct.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't need to advertise it, so everything,
Well,
that's
we-
great.
We would need to advertise the meeting for the 4th, but if it can't, if the public hearing can't be held on the 4th, we would notify the public of the next date that it.
Which is the 11th.
Presumably the 11th.
Yeah,
We would have to
Paul-
know
Paul's
by-
going in
we would have to
weekend
know-
permits. We could move it up.
Right.
We'll see.
We would have to
So
know on
desired.
the 4th, so we could notify the public that's present, consider interested parties,
Right, we open it and close it, and,
people that are present for the public hearing, that show up for the public hearing. We don't have to notify them on the 4th what that date is.
correct.
That's correct.
We've done a lot of that on the Plan Commission this year, so we're used to that.
Okay, we all good? Members? Okay. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Toddy.
Thank you. And thanks to all the impact
Yeah,
fee
the
members
impact
too,
committee,
appreciate
we
it.
have 3 members sitting here.
Yep, thank you.
One member had heart surgery, Denny, and he's recovering, and Donna is busy doing something important, so.
Done?
By the way, just for your own edification, Jack's been quite a benefit. He sits on the committee as well, and he's been quite a benefit to the group.
Good.
I value his input, so.
I think we're done.
We're done. We don't have,
You gotta just adjourn. We're not gonna do anything with zoning ordinance tonight.
We're not.
We have enough, yeah.
Good.
It's 9:10,
Yeah.
yes.
do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.